Today I want to talk about something deeply personal yet universally important: the ability to let go of toxic relationships. It's a topic that touches all of us at some point in our lives because relationships are at the core of who we are. They shape us, uplift us, and sometimes they break us. The first step in letting go of toxicity is recognizing it. A toxic relationship isn't just about dramatic fights or constant tension, it's about how it makes you feel over time. Does this relationship drain your energy? Does it make you doubt your worth? If the answer is yes, it's time to take a closer look. Life is too precious to spend in the company of someone who diminishes your light. Now let's talk about self-worth. You cannot make a decision to let go unless you understand your value. You were not created to be a dumping ground for someone else's insecurities or anger. You were made to thrive, to grow, and to feel joy. And the moment you believe that about yourself, you start to see relationships for what they are: a reflection of how much you respect and love yourself. Boundaries are essential. They're not walls to keep people out, but guidelines to teach others how to treat you. A toxic person often ignores or violates boundaries. It's your job to enforce them, not out of spite, but out of love for yourself. Healing, my friends, is not immediate, but it is transformative. Letting go hurts because we often tie our identity to the people we hold on to. But remember, releasing what's toxic is not just losing something, it's gaining back your freedom, your peace, and your ability to grow. And lastly, lean on the people who uplift you. Surround yourself with those who inspire you to be better, not bitter. Whether it's family, friends, or even professional help, don't be afraid to ask for support. None of us are meant to go through life's challenges alone. Letting go is not about giving up, it's about rising up. It's about reclaiming the space in your life for relationships that nurture and not destroy. The moment you let go of what's holding you back, you make room for everything that's meant for you. Understanding and recognizing toxicity in relationships is the first and most crucial step toward letting go. Toxic relationships often disguise themselves under the guise of normality or even love, making them difficult to identify. They can exist between partners, friends, family members, or colleagues. Toxicity isn't always about loud arguments or overt mistreatment. Sometimes it manifests subtly in ways that slowly erode your sense of self over time. At its core, a toxic relationship is one where the dynamic between two people becomes unhealthy and detrimental to the well-being of one or both individuals. It's marked by patterns of manipulation, control, constant criticism, or emotional neglect. Toxicity can feel like being stuck in a loop, constantly walking on eggshells or feeling drained after interactions. But how do we differentiate a toxic relationship from one that's merely experiencing a rough patch? The key lies in consistency and impact. A toxic relationship consistently undermines your emotional, mental, or physical health. One way to recognize it is by assessing how you feel when you're around the other person. Do you feel anxious or uneasy before seeing them? Do you second-guess your thoughts or words because you're afraid of their reaction? Healthy relationships allow you to feel safe, valued, and free to be yourself. In contrast, toxic relationships make you question your worth, your choices, and even your reality. Gaslighting, for example, is a common toxic behavior where someone manipulates you into doubting your own perceptions or memories. It might sound like you're too sensitive or that never happened when you try to express your feelings. Over time, this can lead to confusion and self-doubt. Similarly, controlling behaviors, whether they're financial, emotional, or social, are red flags. If someone tries to dictate who you can spend time with, how you should dress, or how you should feel, they're crossing a line into toxic territory. Toxicity isn't always intentional. Some people exhibit harmful behaviors because of their own unresolved traumas, insecurities, or unhealthy coping mechanisms. While it's important to have empathy, it's equally important to recognize that their issues are not your responsibility to fix. You can acknowledge their struggles without sacrificing your peace and well-being. Another hallmark of toxicity is a lack of reciprocity. Healthy relationships involve give and take, a balance where both individuals feel supported and valued. In a toxic relationship, one person often takes much more than they give. They might rely on you emotionally without offering support in return, or expect you to prioritize their needs while dismissing your own. Over time, this imbalance creates resentment, exhaustion, and emotional burnout. Pay attention to patterns of behavior rather than isolated incidents. Everyone has bad days, and conflicts are a natural part of any relationship. What distinguishes toxicity is a repeated cycle of negativity, where apologies feel hollow and changes are temporary. If someone constantly dismisses your feelings, belittles your accomplishments, or uses guilt to manipulate you, these are signs of a deeper issue that won't resolve without significant effort they may not be willing to make. Social isolation is another tactic often present in toxic relationships. The other person may discourage you from spending time with friends or family, creating a sense of dependency on them. This can make it harder to recognize the toxicity because you're cut off from outside perspectives. If someone in your life tries to alienate you from your support system, take it as a warning sign. Physical symptoms can also signal a toxic relationship. Stress caused by unhealthy dynamics can manifest in headaches and fatigue or difficulty sleeping. Pay attention to what your body is telling you. If you notice that your interactions with someone consistently leave you feeling physically drained or unwell, it's worth examining the relationship more closely. Recognizing toxicity also requires self-reflection. Sometimes we stay in unhealthy relationships because of our own fears, fear of being alone, fear of confrontation, or fear of losing something we've invested so much in. It's natural to hope things will get better, but hope without action often prolongs the pain. Be honest with yourself about whether the relationship is serving your growth or stifling it. Finally, remember that recognizing toxicity is not about blame, it's about awareness. It's about shining a light on behaviors and dynamics that no longer align with your values or contribute positively to your life. Once you acknowledge the presence of toxicity, you empower yourself to make decisions that prioritize your health, happiness, and future. Recognizing the problem is the first step toward freedom, and freedom starts with awareness. Understanding your self-worth is one of the most empowering journeys you can embark on, especially when dealing with toxic relationships. Self-worth is not about arrogance or overconfidence. It's about understanding your value as a person, independent of anyone else's opinions or actions. In the context of toxic relationships, self-worth becomes your anchor, the foundation that keeps you steady when everything else seems to be pulling you in different directions. When you have a strong sense of self-worth, you realize that you deserve to be treated with respect, kindness, and dignity. You begin to see that relationships are meant to enrich your life, not deplete it. However, toxic relationships often erode self-worth by instilling doubt and fostering feelings of inadequacy. When someone consistently criticizes you, ignores your needs, or manipulates your emotions, it can leave you questioning your value. Over time, you may start to believe that their mistreatment is a reflection of your worth, rather than their own shortcomings. The truth is, your worth is inherent. It is not determined by how someone else treats you, how much you accomplish, or how perfect you try to be. Recognizing this truth can be a profound turning point. It allows you to step back and evaluate your relationships through the lens of self-respect. Ask yourself, does this relationship make me feel valued? Do I feel supported and loved for who I am, or am I constantly trying to prove my worth to this person? For many people, the fear of being alone or the desire to maintain a relationship can make it difficult to prioritize self-worth. You might convince yourself that staying is better than being alone, or that the other person's behavior will change if you just try harder. But the reality is that no amount of effort on your part can compensate for someone else's unwillingness to treat you with respect. Recognizing this can be painful, but it's also liberating. It's a reminder that your worth doesn't depend on someone else's ability to see it. Building self-worth often involves unlearning the negative beliefs that toxic relationships reinforce. It requires you to challenge the voice in your head that says you're not good enough, or that you deserve to be treated poorly. Start by acknowledging your strengths, accomplishments, and the unique qualities that make you who you are. Surround yourself with people who uplift and encourage you, and distance yourself from those who diminish your confidence. Remember, the way others treat you is a reflection of them, not you. Setting boundaries is another essential part of asserting your self-worth. When you value yourself, you're more likely to recognize behaviors that are unacceptable and take action to protect your peace. Boundaries aren't about punishing the other person, they're about respecting yourself enough to say, "This is what I will and will not accept." For example, if someone constantly belittles you, you have the right to express how their behavior affects you and to limit your interactions with them if they don't change. Self-worth also involves giving yourself permission to walk away from relationships that no longer serve you. This can be one of the hardest decisions to make, especially if you've invested a lot of time and energy into the relationship. But staying in a toxic dynamic only perpetuates the harm to your emotional and mental well-being. Letting go doesn't mean you're giving up, it means you're choosing yourself, your happiness, and your future. It's important to recognize that self-worth is not a destination but a lifelong practice. There will be moments of doubt, especially when you're healing from the effects of a toxic relationship. But each step you take toward valuing yourself, whether it's setting a boundary, seeking support, or simply reminding yourself of your worth, brings you closer to the life you deserve. Remember that self-worth is not about being perfect or having it all figured out. It's about embracing your imperfections and recognizing that you are enough just as you are. When you truly believe in your worth, you stop tolerating relationships that make you feel less than. You realize that letting go of toxicity isn't just an act of self-preservation, it's an act of self-love. And in loving yourself, you open the door to healthier, more fulfilling relationships that honor who you are. The process of letting go of toxic relationships is rarely simple or easy. It's a journey filled with emotional challenges, personal realizations, and the courage to prioritize your well-being over the familiar, even when that familiarity is unhealthy. Breaking away from toxicity requires you to confront not only the relationship, but also your own fears, attachments, and habits that may have kept you stuck. It's a transformative process that, while difficult, is ultimately liberating. Letting go begins with acknowledging that the relationship is no longer serving you in a positive way. This can be a painful realization because it often comes with grief over what you hoped the relationship would be. You might replay memories of better times, wondering where things went wrong, or blame yourself for not being able to fix the dynamic. It's important to remember that the failure of a toxic relationship is not a reflection of your worth or your effort. It's a result of incompatibility, unhealthy patterns, or one person's inability or unwillingness to meet you halfway. One of the greatest obstacles to letting go is fear. Fear of being alone, fear of confrontation, fear of losing a shared history, or even fear of judgment from others can make you second-guess your decision. Toxic relationships often thrive on this fear as it keeps you tethered to the status quo. Recognizing these fears is the first step in overcoming them. Ask yourself what you're truly afraid of and whether that fear outweighs the damage the relationship is causing. Often the fear of leaving is rooted in uncertainty, but the reality of staying is a certainty of continued harm. Another challenge is the emotional attachment you may have to the person, even if their behavior is hurtful. Human connections run deep, and walking away can feel like severing a part of yourself. You might hold on to the hope that things will improve, that the person will change, or that your love will be enough to heal the rift. While hope is natural, it's crucial to recognize when it becomes a barrier to your growth. Change must come from both sides, and if the other person is unwilling to acknowledge or address the toxicity, your hope may only prolong your pain. Letting go also requires you to challenge the beliefs that keep you tied to the relationship. You might believe that you owe the person your loyalty because of the time you've spent together, or that walking away means you're giving up. But the truth is, you owe yourself loyalty first. Staying in a relationship out of guilt or obligation is not sustainable, nor is it fair to either person. Reframing your perspective can help you see that letting go is not an act of betrayal, but an act of self-care and empowerment. Setting boundaries is an essential part of the process. These boundaries may include limiting contact, avoiding certain conversations, or even cutting ties completely if necessary. Establishing boundaries doesn't mean you hate or blame the other person. It means you value your peace and health enough to protect them. Be clear and firm about what you need to move forward, and don't allow guilt or manipulation to undermine your decisions. Support is critical during this time. Reach out to trusted friends, family members, or a therapist who can provide guidance and encouragement. Talking about your feelings can help you process the grief, anger, or confusion that often accompanies letting go. Support systems remind you that you're not alone and that there are people who genuinely care about your well-being. As you let go, focus on rediscovering yourself. Toxic relationships can overshadow your identity, making you forget who you are outside of that dynamic. Take time to reconnect with your passions, interests, and goals. Rebuild your confidence by celebrating small victories, whether it's standing firm in your decision or finding joy in a simple moment. Remember that healing is not linear. There will be setbacks, but each step forward is progress. Letting go of toxicity is not just about ending a relationship. It's about reclaiming your life. It's about making room for healthier connections and experiences that align with your values and aspirations. It's about giving yourself permission to prioritize your happiness without guilt or hesitation. The journey may be challenging, but the freedom and peace you gain are worth every effort. You deserve a life filled with respect, love, and positivity. And that begins with the courage to let go of what no longer serves you. Healing from the pain of toxic relationships is a deeply personal and transformative journey. It's not just about moving on or forgetting the past. It's about rebuilding yourself from the inside out, reclaiming your sense of self, and nurturing the parts of you that were wounded. The process of healing takes time, patience, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable emotions, but it is also an opportunity for profound growth and renewal. The first step in healing is acknowledging and validating your emotions. Toxic relationships often leave a trail of emotional damage, feelings of rejection, betrayal, sadness, anger, and even guilt. It's essential to allow yourself to feel these emotions without judgment. Pushing them aside or pretending they don't exist will only prolong the healing process. Instead, accept them as a natural response to what you've been through. Journaling, talking with a trusted friend, or working with a therapist can provide a safe space to express and process these feelings. As you begin to process your emotions, it's important to resist the urge to dwell on self-blame. Toxic relationships can make you question your judgment, worth, and decisions, but it's crucial to remember that the toxicity was not your fault. Healing involves letting go of the need to overanalyze every action or replay every conversation in your mind. Understand that you did the best you could with the knowledge and resources you had at the time. Forgive yourself for any perceived mistakes, and focus on the lessons you've learned instead. A significant part of healing is setting boundaries to protect yourself from further harm. If the toxic person is still in your life in some capacity, such as a co-worker, family member, or shared acquaintance, clearly define the limits of your interactions. These boundaries are not about punishment, but about preserving your peace and emotional well-being. Even if the relationship has ended entirely, boundaries can also apply to how much mental space you allow that person to occupy. Redirect your thoughts when you find yourself ruminating on the past, and remind yourself that your energy is better spent on your healing. Self-care becomes a cornerstone during this time. Toxic relationships often drain your energy and leave you neglecting your needs. Healing involves prioritizing activities that nurture your body, mind, and spirit. Exercise, meditation, healthy eating, and getting enough sleep can help restore your physical and emotional balance. But self-care is not just about routines, it's also about finding joy and rediscovering what makes you happy. Reconnect with hobbies or interests you may have set aside and explore new activities that spark curiosity and excitement. One of the most powerful aspects of healing is rediscovering your identity. Toxic relationships can blur your sense of self, as you may have compromised parts of yourself to maintain the relationship or appease the other person. Now is the time to ask yourself, who am I without this relationship? What are my values, dreams, and passions? Embrace the opportunity to rebuild your life on your terms, free from the influence of negativity. Celebrate your individuality and take pride in the qualities that make you unique. Forgiveness can also play a role in the healing process, but it's important to approach it on your terms. Forgiveness does not mean excusing harmful behavior or forgetting what happened. It's about freeing yourself from the burden of anger and resentment. Holding on to these emotions can keep you tethered to the past, while forgiveness allows you to move forward with a lighter heart. Remember, forgiveness is for your benefit, not the other person's, and it can take time to reach that place, and that's okay. Support is invaluable as you navigate the path to healing. Surround yourself with people who uplift and encourage you, whether they are friends, family, or a support group. Sharing your experiences with others who have faced similar challenges can help you feel understood and validated. Professional therapy can also provide tools and strategies to work through trauma and build resilience. Finally, remember that healing is not a linear process. There will be days when you feel strong and confident, and others when old wounds resurface. Be patient with yourself and celebrate small victories along the way. Each step forward, no matter how small, is a testament to your strength and determination. Healing from a toxic relationship is ultimately about reclaiming your power and creating a life that aligns with your values and aspirations. It's about learning to trust yourself again, embracing your worth, and opening your heart to healthier, more fulfilling connections. The pain you've endured does not define you. It is a chapter in your story, not the whole book. With time and effort, you can turn that pain into a source of strength and emerge stronger, wiser, and more whole than ever before. Breaking free from toxic relationships not only allows you to reclaim your well-being, but also creates space for healthier, more fulfilling connections. Toxic relationships often occupy significant emotional and mental energy, leaving little room for genuine relationships to flourish. When you let go of negativity, you open the door to people who value, respect, and uplift you. Healthy connections thrive on mutual understanding, trust, and support. These relationships encourage personal growth and bring positivity to your life. Surrounding yourself with individuals who inspire you helps to rebuild your confidence and sense of self-worth. They remind you of your inherent value and show you what true respect looks like. Letting go also teaches you valuable lessons about boundaries, communication, and self-respect. These lessons become the foundation for building healthier relationships in the future. You learn to recognize red flags and avoid repeating patterns that lead to toxicity. This awareness empowers you to cultivate connections that align with your values and nurture your emotional well-being. The end of a toxic relationship is not just a loss, it's a gain, a chance to embrace connections that contribute to your happiness and fulfillment. By choosing healthier relationships, you set the stage for a more joyful, balanced, and enriched life.